Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh and I'm chatting with two members of the Docs Ireland team, Roisin Geraghty, she's the head of industry and marketplace, and programmer Stuart Sloan. So this is a wonderful industry-focused festival that runs from the 20th to the 25th of June. Thanks so much for chatting with us.
No problem.
No problem. Delighted.
Great. So first up, I want to talk about a little bit about the festival itself. How long has it been in operation? How did it start up? How has it changed over the years?
So basically, the Docs Ireland started as sort of an offshoot from the Belfast Film Festival back in 2019. Actually, you'd run a pilot event.
In 2018, yeah, which was just Irish feature docs. We just happened to have I think about 10 or 11 Irish feature docs in 2018 that couldn't kind of fit in our program, and we were amazed by how good they were. That sounds a bit patronizing, but I mean, we were really excited by how good they were. And so we put them all on together in kind of a mini festival during the summer, and it basically sold out every night. And the films were really of differing styles and differing contents, both about Ireland and all from all over the world. And our audience seemed to really love them. And so then from then we just felt like it was a no-brainer because we knew that kind of trajectory of Irish docs was going up, both in quality and quantity. And so then from then on, we worked towards... So Roisin joined us because we knew we wanted to have an industry focus. And so then we did our first year in 2019.
Just to add to that the reason the festival is so industry focused is because obviously Northern Ireland sits in a very interesting place. So we really do pitch ourselves as an all-island festival, an all-Ireland festival, but we're in Northern Ireland. So there's a lot of different interesting pockets of funding available from the UK, Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. So
there used to be, yeah.
Well, still not as much, but it really sits in this interesting spot where industry can gather, and also people seem to really want to come to Belfast, which is great. So, and the festival is just after Sheffield Doc Fest, so we sometimes share industry guests with them, so it all works out quite well.
Yeah, so just to add to Roisin, it means we can look both ways, and we can look at the best filmmakers from both territories, which is just, I think, really, really great.
Sounds like a great place if you are working in one industry and looking to make connections in the other. Can you talk to me a little bit about the various schemes that are on offer? How, if I'm a producer or production company with no knowledge, I might apply for them?
Sure. Well, in terms of the different industry offerings we have, I guess the kind of centerpiece of the industry program is we run a marketplace every year, which is it's on June 23rd this year. So, and that's open to Irish, Northern Irish, UK and international projects. It is primarily, our main kind of mission statement for Docs Ireland is to promote, Island of Ireland documentary filmmaking talent. And the majority of our projects at the market are Irish from the island. So we bring in industry players from the documentary industry from all over the world, really, a lot from the UK, Europe, North America, and a few from further afield. And they come in and they meet with projects, feature doc, and actually we have documentary series for the first time this year in our market. So they come and they meet there. So that's the main way we kind of help documentary filmmakers is through the market. But we also run pitching competition in partnership with Northern Ireland Screen, the Northern Ireland Screen Pitch. And that again is open to filmmakers from across the island, north and south. And we choose 5 projects every year to pitch publicly at the festival. And one project is chosen to receive £7,500 in development funding from Northern Ireland Screen through that. So that's a really exciting initiative. And then our other we run a lot of panel discussions and events throughout the festival and have a lot of networking opportunities, which is super helpful for doc producers and filmmakers. But the final, I guess, scheme that we run is we run a scheme called the Ignite talent development program, which again is a cross-border scheme. We choose feature documentary projects from North and South to participate in like a long-term training. So it's project-based and it's for people that are working on their first feature documentary. So they receive training. It's a partnership with the Cork International Film Festival. So they start their training in Cork in November. They have, training sessions from like pitching, story development, sales and distribution training, market training, filmmaker conversations, more creative conversations, and it's all leading towards them participating in the Docs Ireland market every June. So it's a long-term training program, but it's kind of another one of our like centerpiece schemes at the festival.
And the new one is open for applications in August.
Yes.
Right. So please apply to look at our website and the Cork's Film Festival's website. But one thing I would add as well is, a lot of those like market things and stuff are for established filmmakers, but we also have an emerging talent day as well as part of the festival, which is run by Doc Society or in partnership with Doc Society. So, we try to offer things for established filmmakers and also emerging filmmakers like Ignite.
That's amazing. And just say I'm there and I don't have a project for this year, but I do want to go and have a few glasses of wine and hand out my cards to people. Where would I go if I was buying or selling for that reason?
Well, I'd say specifically this year, I would still say we run our festival marketplace in a venue in Belfast City Centre called 2 Royal Avenue. Yeah. But alongside the market, we will be having like a day of talks and events, and there'll be a networking lunch, networking drinks at the end. So even if you don't have a project in the market, I'd encourage people to like come along, attend the talks. A lot of the industry delegates who are taking part in the market are also taking part in talks. So it'll be like a very intimate environment to meet people. I think that's what the feedback we've had from Docs Ireland in previous years is that because it's quite intimate and a little bit smaller than bigger large scale documentary festivals, that it's easier to meet with industry representatives and bigger players, because we do get some great guests that come in and great decision makers that come and attend the marketplace every year.
Brilliant. And tell me about the lineup. So what kind of mix do you have going on this year from the island of Ireland and internationally?
Okay, so we actually have more Irish features than we've ever had before. So we have, I think, 12 in competition, which is a record for us. And again, like I said earlier, like the breadth and width of the styles and of the filmmakers' contents is brilliant. So that's the kind of like main focus of our program. And that's like, and we are very excited to have that as part of it. But then we also have mixed with that a wide selection of the best kind of new international films. So we have a couple of different sections for that. We just have, the new international film. We also have our Maisels Brothers competition, which is films in the kind of observational style, named in tribute to the Maisels brothers, the great Maisels brothers. So that's actually in its 17th year. So that moved on from Belfast Film Festival to us. We have a new section called The Zone, which is the kind of more experimental, like challenging films. And we kind of see that as our remit, is to show, basically we see that as our remit is to show films that aren't available elsewhere in the country of Northern Ireland. I mean, Northern Ireland only has 2 independent cinema screens in the entire country. And so I think like we want to be able to show things and do things that people can't have access to anywhere else, and kind of celebrate the kind of edges of documentary. So yeah, we've got that. And then we've also got like a bunch of shorts. We've got a bunch of community groups and partners and collaborators doing events. We have a bunch of music events and music films and documentaries at like places like the Sonic Lab, which is kind of experimental music section, which is related to Queen's University Belfast. So I think we have, a wide range of films covered.
And what would be your top picks of films? Maybe a hidden gem or, something that might be unexpected for audiences?
Apart from every film, which I obviously love, I would say it's really hard for me to say. I guess the Personally, for me, I think my favorite films are in this section, the zone. So there's a film called All Our Heartbeats Are Connected Through Exploding Stars, which is kind of like meandering film about trauma, but it's told in an incredibly like beautiful and positive way. And I absolutely loved it. And it's just one of those experiences that you don't often get. And to have that in a giant cinema screen where, you don't have your phone on you, you can't chat, it's really loud. I feel like those experiences, for all of us are happening less and less. And, they're films that have things that might not be about our day-to-day lives, but I feel like they're to do with us as humans. And I think like that, again, is partly what we want to do. We want to recreate these experiences that are special to our cinema audiences. But again, I think like we are all busy and we all got our phones and we don't like appreciate or even have those experiences anymore as much as we maybe would like to. And I think that's again what we're trying to recreate with the festival.
Brilliant. And what would your audience, like how many people are film buffs, film nerds, academics, and how many would be like people in the industries at 50-50? Do you get a sense of it from going?
I think it's a good mix. I think it's a really good mix. I mean, again, Belfast is a small city, so we wouldn't have anywhere near the same audiences as like Berlin or Amsterdam or something like that. But we definitely have documentary fans, and I think like because of our kind of unique history, I think like certainly nonfiction has a really, really strong tradition here, both from the filmmakers' side and the audience's side. So again, we have a number of films that are about and events that are about our Northern Ireland's history and present and past, and I think like that's a conversation that still needs to be had in Northern Ireland. I think it's clear we have some serious issues on kind of political and social levels in Northern Ireland. And I think like going back through certain stories that were maybe repressed a bit in our recent history is actually really healthy and really good. So for instance, we've got a film that the IRA themselves made in 1972 that's been recently found, and the BBC have done an investigation into that and how it was made. Our closing night event is the new Late Late Show host Paddy Kilty and ex-boxing great Carl Frampton having a discussion with each other. They have both recently moved from their previously very successful careers into making documentaries, which I think is a common kind of strand for kind of thinking people these days. And so they're going to talk about their work in documentary, but that work in documentary is nearly always about Northern Ireland and about kind of mental health and education and politics. And so we're going to kind of use that as a prism, their documentary work as a prism to talk about these kind of issues that we have in Northern Ireland. And our audiences, they love that, they really love that.
No, I can't answer as eloquently as that, but I just, in terms of, and my head is obviously very, because I run the industry part of the program, I'm very focused on that. But something that I really care about with Docs Ireland, which might be quite obvious with how much I've mentioned cross-border in this interview, but is that we bring in documentary filmmakers from south of the border. Sometimes I feel like I'm the cross-border rep of the festival. I'm proud of it. But I think it's fantastic that like, when you look at the projects in selection in the marketplace, like there are a lot of projects from the Republic of Ireland, and filmmakers really do make the effort to come up.
And in the programme.
Yeah, well, and in the programme, obviously there's loads. But we'd love to encourage more audiences from outside of Northern Ireland to come to the festival.
We would love that.
Because it's not that expensive to come and stay in Belfast, especially when you compare it to Dublin, and the ticket prices are very reasonable.
Yes, we actually
and it's an amazing program.
Yeah, and we have we're actually doing a pay what you can this year. So we realize, the world that we live in has become more and more expensive for everyone. So we actually want to make our films accessible for all. So we actually have a pay what you can for all our tickets. So you can pay as little as you want or as much as you want.
And just out of interest, with regards to the types of submissions that you get, did you notice any trends maybe in topics and themes this year that maybe changed? I'd be very interested to see what's being made in the COVID era that you're getting now and the post-COVID era, and if there makes a difference. Because I think at the as programmers, you're kind of on the coal face as to the cross section of what's being made.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that like there's been a general trend. I don't know if it's anything to do with COVID, but like there's been a general trend in the last like 5 years where we would have noticed Northern Irish filmmakers look inward. Like I mentioned, we obviously strong tradition and obviously endless amounts of stories, but certainly within the last 5 years, both North and South, like filmmakers are looking out. Like we have films from like Beirut, Afghanistan, like all these different countries, but by like Chile, by Northern Irish filmmakers or Irish filmmakers. So I think that's brilliant, and like a lot of those films often sit amongst all international festivals as good quality as any films from anywhere else in the world. But I think, as Roisin mentions, like the COVID has definitely affected. There's a lot more personal films. There's a lot more like viewpoint films from people's like very specific points of view, because that's the kind of films that's slightly easier to make whenever you're kind of stuck in a kind of small place. But quite often those kind of very personal films are my favorite, and to be honest, that's actually why I maybe would always tend towards a documentary rather than a fiction film, because quite often it is 2 or 3 people. It's not, there's no catering on set. There's not a massive team of 90 people, where it kind of removes the personal from the filmmaking process. So yeah, I don't know.
I think you've covered that. I suppose I see the projects coming through the market submissions, so it's projects that are still in development or production, and I can honestly say there is a huge range. Like this year we have everything from like political documentaries to very personal family films to a lot of films about Ukraine, obviously, which makes sense, and we really want to support those. We have a really amazing project in the market this year called Cuba and Alaska, which is a Ukrainian project. And actually I've noticed as well quite a few nature documentaries, which is always nice. But yeah, it's a real mix of the projects that I see that are still in development that come through in the submissions for the marketplace.
And another thing that would be very interesting is style. So, for a while, there was a lot of docudramas maybe coming through, and like, that there's a trend where, this is the done thing. Then maybe you'd have specifically documentaries with no talking heads whatsoever, and it would all be done through voiceover and visuals. I'm just wondering, what would be sort of the main trends that you guys would notice with regards to aesthetics or style or function?
I would say that, as Roisin said before, like we want to our aim is to try to get as many different types of people from the country of Ireland, the 2 countries of Ireland, to watch a film. So we would like to show as many different styles as possible. That's like, we want to have like a wee bits of everything. And I think like, depending on the story, I think like it takes a different style, like to properly tell the story of that film. I think my personal belief is I don't like that kind of trend-based making of documentary. I don't like the way Netflix.
Yeah.
Dates for sure, absolutely. And again, Netflix homogenizes every film to be the same thing, and I don't like that. And I think that's what our role is, to fight against that, I think. So but I don't know what the style of this year is. I'm not sure.
I don't think that there is a style. Well, just to continue on the Netflix point, it's interesting. There is a very specific style that you can associate with Netflix, and I think we all know it. But the kind of films that end up on streamers don't tend to come to our festival very often, because the bigger, huge sort of, we used to call them like thriller docs, but like the big budget sort of,
I think music docs,
profile docs, what you tend to see is that they will go to Sundance or they'll go to a big festival and they'll get acquired by a streamer straight away. So they don't tend to go to the smaller documentary festivals or smaller film festivals. So I guess it's part of our job to, offer films that you're not going to see on Netflix
fight
the next
for those
week.
Other ones. Yeah.
Fabulous. And that's the kind of nice mix of them as well. And with regards to the short documentaries, I often think like that's amazing because it can take such a different style. There's no set style. Something can be so experimental. What are
Absolutely.
the flavors that you've been getting in of that? Is there anything kind of like that we should keep an eye out for? Any rising talents that you guys are
Yeah,
celebrating?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there absolutely is. We actually have, do you know the artist Spice Bag, Adam Doyle? He has a new film, a short film that's in our program. And again, it's like very interesting. I mean, it's an investigation into the death of a man, Terence Whitelock, in Gardaí custody. And we actually have a film about a northern equivalent story about Joseph Rainey, a man who was killed in custody too, or he died in custody, sorry. So there's a lot of like social issues within our shorts. But the one thing I would say also about the shorts just in general is I think they used to be seen as maybe like a training scheme, effectively, like a stepping stone. But I think more and more people are starting to realize that they should exist for their own sake, you know, and as a piece of art on its own. And like sometimes you wish almost feature films had realized that it was actually a good short. And I think that's like partly what we want to encourage and celebrate. And again, like in our shorts competition this year, like I think it's like kind of the maddest we've ever had. You know, some films with no real stories, but like just as thrilling and interesting, and you know, still with things to say about society and culture.
Brilliant. I heard you have some really good industry sessions. Can you tell me about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've a really, really good offering. So we try and focus the industry program, you know, across the board for filmmakers at all stages of their career. So there's a real mix in there. We are hosting an event with Doc Society this year on the Thursday of the festival, Thursday the 22nd, which is an Emerging Filmmakers Day, which I think it's a free event. So I'd really encourage like film students, media students, people who are making short films to attend that, because you will learn a lot and get to meet, you know, established and mid-career filmmakers and different funders at that event.
And the network is so important to build, especially at that stage. Like you never know where your next opportunity or inspiration comes from.
Or your next collaborator, you know, even someone on your level. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then another exciting event that we're running that is an event called Engaging Audiences, Creative Practices for Documentary Distribution. And we are partnering with the audience designer Sheila Cully for that event. So it's a morning event on Friday, the 23rd of June, where we look at kind of innovations in nonfiction filmmaking. And there will be some interesting speakers who will be presenting about the work that they do. So, for example, we have ShareDoc, which is an organization based out of the Netherlands, which runs crowdfunding campaigns for documentary filmmakers so that audiences can take direct action to help the protagonists in nonfiction films, which is really exciting. We have Da Films, which is an art house film platform based out of the Czech Republic, which is a real alternative to Netflix. So they program and they curate really, really interesting content on there, and it's worldwide, so it's available, you know, to audiences all over the world. And we are, as part of that event, we're also hosting a case study with Luke McManus, who I'm sure a lot of your listeners will know. Luke McManus, the director of North Circular, and it's a case study in DIY doc distribution. So basically him talking about the journey, the distribution journey for North Circular, which has been like very interesting and very exciting and very successful. So we'll be chatting to Luke about that experience. And then we have some other keynote industry panels. So we've a Meet the Broadcasters event, which will have BBC Storyville, POV, RTE, YLE, which is a Finnish broadcaster, Arte, and S4C from Wales. We have a festival programmer session with Hot Docs and CPH Docs, two of like the leading documentary festivals in the world. And then we have a session that will look at the place of markets in the documentary landscape. So we'll have the IDFA Forum represented there, Cannes Docs, and we're partnering with Creative Europe on that session. So there's a lot of different offerings there for, doc filmmakers at all stages.
That sounds really wonderful and like so exciting and so comprehensive for what is a relatively new festival. Like all the spectrums covered, huge array of top tier names. That's an amazing thing. It's great to see it in person as well after COVID.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And it hasn't been that difficult to engage these people. People really genuinely seem interested in coming to Belfast, and we've been very lucky. We've had a few champions around Europe, documentary industry people that have been telling, who've kind of been just spreading the good word of Docs Ireland to different documentary festivals around Europe, so and internationally. So that's very exciting for us, obviously.
Okay, so we'll get to see it from the 20th to the 25th of June. Tickets are available to buy now. Is there anything that's selling out that people should get before it goes?
Stuart can probably answer that question
There's
better.
A few things. Yeah, we're doing a mini retrospective of Alison Miller, who's one of the best documentary makers based in Belfast, and her films are selling very well. We're like doing a couple of her films from the mid-2000s, including one on Father Cleary, the singing priest, which she made as well, which is quite famous film. So that well, but the tickets are at docsireland.ie.
I would also suggest that people, sorry to cut across you, get your tickets for Let the Canary Sing, which is a new documentary about Cyndi Lauper, which is opening the festival, and it is directed by Alison Elwood, who made films about the Go-Go's and Laurel Canyon, I believe. Like, she's a really brilliant music documentary director, and the film is produced by Trevor Burney and Emer O'Neill for Fine Point Films, which you've probably heard of, but like amazing documentary production company here in Belfast.
Oh, it sounds so exciting. Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure you've lots to get back to, so we'll leave you to it. Right, bye.
Thanks, Gemma.
Thanks a million, Gemma.